Mr. President.
Senator from Oklahoma.
Mr. President, yesterday we got down to work on amendments. For the annual defense authorization legislation, we filed a substitute amendment that included 93 bipartisan amendments. When I say 93, there are 44 Democrat, 44 Republican, and I think 5 more that were on both sides. And so this is what we've been trying to do. Senator Reid and I both have been encouraging people to bring amendments to the floor for a long period of time. In fact, the majority leader, Senator McConnell, has made several appeals that in the event that this gets bogged down, to go ahead and bring your amendments down so we can work it. Well, that's what we did in this amendment the substitute that we used yesterday incorporated 93 amendments, and they were actually brought to us for fear that what happened a year ago would happen again. Now, I'm not sure that the system's wrong when it does this, but any one member of the Democrats or Republicans can stop an amendment from coming forward. It takes unanimous consent, and people don't understand that. But right now, we're in a position where one individual, as last year, one individual, and at one point, 2 individuals, just said they were stopping all amendments unless they had a certain consideration for their own amendment. And again, that seems to be happening again now. But nonetheless, that's why we have all these amendments, and that's what we've done that's right. I do want to comment, though. I heard a couple of my colleagues say that Republicans are blocking consideration of an amendment on Iran, the Senator Udall amendment. That's holding up the bill. The members of both parties are raising objections to not just one single amendment, but to all amendments. We're following a process that allows all senators to have their say, and that's a good thing, but it means that anyone can hold this bill up. And so what do we do to preclude irreparable damage to the most important bill of the year, the NDAA? And we've taken that initiative to bring up amendments and discuss amendments. And I have a list. I have a list with me of all of the amendments that are in the bill that we're talking about, the substitute bill. The Cotton Amendment, the open source fusion centers with Pacific Island states, the Purdue, I'm just going from 1 to, I could go through all 93 of them. The DOD Financial Improvement and Audit Remediation Plan. That's what Senator Purdue has been talking about for a long period of time. We've got it now. It's in the bill. Cornyn's bill, overseas absentee balloting, voting for members of the armed forces. That's in the bill. All these amendments are there, and that's what we've been doing. And so, that's why I found the whole idea of Senator Schumer objecting to finishing this bill as we had planned to do it this week because of the political debates, the presidential debates that are going on. I was pretty shocked yesterday to hear that my colleague from New York, the minority leader, said that we should delay votes on the NDAA so that 7 Democrat senators can participate in primary debates. Now, that's clearly saying that the politics is more important than the national security. Whether it's 7 or just 1 Democrat senator who wants to participate, my answer would be the same. We need to get this bill done to protect the nation. And I say without apology, the national security preempts politics. This is the tradition of the Armed Services Committee. It's our tradition for a reason. I repeat, Senator Schumer said we should delay votes on the most important bill of the year, a bill that has a quickly approaching deadline that has wide bipartisan support for political purposes. I said, and I quote, he said, and I quote, "There's no rush to complete the NDAA." He said that there will be no harmful consequences to our military. I disagree. We got to enact the NDAA by September 30th, the start of the new fiscal year. And so we don't have that much time to spare. And we stop and think about all the things that we have to do between now and September 30th. If we don't pass the NDAA on time, would delay the needed reforms to privatizing the privatized housing scandal. I'd call it a scandal. And we've had 2 hearings on that. Up until February, no one said anything about it. No one said that there was a problem. They talked about back in the days when we did privatize housing. I thought it was a good idea. I was here at the time. I'm partially responsible. And it worked for a while, a couple of years. And then I think a lot of the contractors got greedy and they found there could be shortcuts. And I think that we in the uniforms were somewhat responsible too, because they did some things that they didn't have the oversight that they had before, and therefore they didn't have the responsibility. So that's a big deal, and that's something that needs to be corrected, and that's in the bill. That's going to be a part of the bill. Now, if we don't pass the NDAA, it's not going to be. If we don't pass the NDAA on time, we'll delay $11.2 billion in military construction projects in 44 states. Yeah, some of those are in my state of Oklahoma. We would handicap the mission-critical infrastructure for combatant commands protecting America and its U.S. interests across the globe. These are MILCON projects that need to be done. If we don't pass the NDAA on time, we'll delay disaster relief for military installations still recovering from the devastating storms and disasters in Florida, in North Carolina, and Nebraska. If we don't pass the NDAA on time, we'll lose authorities for ongoing security cooperation with Afghanistan and Iraq, reducing pressure on terrorist threats, encouraging our enemies, and undermining our partners. If we don't pass this NDAA on time, we'll be slowing enactment of the Financial Sanctions Act, which Senator Schumer is very much concerned about and has been critical to get this thing done. And I think it's very important to inhibit the flow of these deadly drugs across our borders. If we don't get the NDAA done on time, we'll let the EPA continue kicking the can down the road on the PFAS crisis and providing Americans safe drinking water. All these things are going to happen if we start delaying it. Now, you might say, we're only delaying it for a week, or maybe 2 weeks, but still, that delays everything else, and that also puts it into the time frame where we're going to be busy doing all these other things that we are going to have to do. We've got a lot to do before December 30th, and only a limited number of legislative days to do it. We've got to pass the NDAA. We've got to get a budget deal. We've got to bring the appropriation bills to the floor. These are all vital to getting our troops the resources they need on time and with predictability. This is a simple request that our military leaders have made. In fact, they said it's the best thing that we can do for our national security. So this is what's going on right now. And I also listened to a lot of the discussion on the floor. They're talking about the concentration camps, all these, the treatment of our kids. And let me say, even though that is not the defense in the purview of the committee that has the bill, the NDAA, that's Health and Human Services, I have done some looking into that, and Don Archer in my office has spent time with HHS, and they find out these kids are being kept well. 1,400 of these kids are going to go to my state of Oklahoma, and I'm going to be sure that they're healthy when they get there, they're fed properly, everyone's going to have their own bed, their own resources, and the staff servicing these kids, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So I know it sounds great, it sounds popular. If you want to demean this president, make it look like he's abusing kids. That rings high, but it's just not true. And we are going to have to do something to correct the misuse. It's doing a great disservice, not just to the kids, but to the bill. Our responsibility to provide for the common defense is so important. It's in the opening lines of the Constitution. Now, I know a lot of people don't read the old document anymore, but I think it's pretty important. I would hope that my colleagues agree, especially those on the Capitol trail, on the campaign trail, that a candidate for a higher office in this country who truly understands the importance of defending this nation and our ideals should understand the need to pass this bill on time. Now, we've got to pass the bill. We've got to pass the bill as soon as possible. And I want to again commend the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, Senator Reid, for his unwavering commitment to our women and our men in uniform. He understands, and I understand, this is the important thing that we have to do. So I really would like for everyone to be aware that there is an effort to delay this bill for what I have to say would be purely political reasons. It's so that people who are on the committee could be participating in a presidential debate. Well, they got a daytime job, and they need to be doing the daytime job, which is defending America and passing the NDAA, and that's what we intend to do. Now, I plan to be on the floor all day today, and I want to make sure that this idea that somehow we're not getting amendments through, anticipating we might not be able to get them through, we have taken and yesterday actually passed 93 amendments. 93 amendments. It's taken several weeks to get all these amendments in. But I think, and I'm going to be reading off some of these amendments and making sure that the authors come down to the floor and talk about their amendment. John Bozeman, Senator Bozeman from Arkansas, has an amendment that would modify authorized strength to the Air Force Reserve. It's a very important amendment, and I'm sure that he is going to be coming down talking about his amendment, as are the other members. Some 44 members actually have amendments they need to talk about. So we'll have that opportunity, and I think that we have all day long today to get that down and to get this thing done and get back on track, pass the NDAA, the most important bill of the year. With that, I'll yield the floor.